Hello everybody and welcome to Simply Scrapbooked. Today I'm going to show you a little trick that's been around for a while, but I know that some of you haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to show you. So you can get everything you see here out of one sheet of paper. So this is a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat, and if you were normally cutting a piece of paper, you wouldn't be able to figure that out very easily. Because our paper is 12 by 12, and that 6.5 and 6.5 would be 13. So it's not just a simple matter of going cut, cut, and you're done. So there's a simple way to do this, and you actually end up getting a border and an extra strip, even a little tiny strip that can be put down, really cute. And then you get 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats, and even a little square that you could do some decorating on, put an embellishment on there or something and use it down in the corner or something like that. So let me show you how you can do this with one piece of cardstock. So we're going to start off with our border maker system. So the border maker system is really three parts. You've got the guide, you've got the holder, and you've got the cartridge. So to do this, you want a cartridge like this. It's called a chain cartridge that's going to cut out a chain that will be separate from the piece of paper. So this is an example of a chain. And to show you what I'm talking about, this one, you see how it's got a line here? That means it stays connected to the paper. So this is how this one would cut out. And so it would cut the side and make an edge on the paper. And if I wanted to strip, I would use our trimmer and cut it straight to make a strip. So you don't want one that does the edge. You want one that cuts a loose piece of paper that is a border. So that's why I'm using this one today. Now, I never know the names of all my border makers. I just have to show you with the pictures. But there's a lot of them that make a chain like this. In fact, most of mine make a chain. So today we're going to use this one. So to use the border maker, first of all, in case you haven't seen this before, there's a little black tray underneath, and you're going to pull that out. That is your paper guide. So then you lift this part up. And see this black lines here? These are magnets. So you put your paper in here, make sure it goes to the corners of the tray, and then you pop that down and it holds it in place, and you move the guide back underneath out of the way. Now you're going to take your border maker cartridge, and you see where it says Creative Memories. You're going to put that where it says Creative Memories here. So Creative Memories matches Creative Memories. It just pops in, and it leaves the little feet on the outside. So a couple of ways you can line this up. One is you see this little bump right here, this little line. That line corresponds to these little lines on the border maker. And then you also have these little spots underneath where the little teeth will fit in. And so I do it by feel, but when you first start, you may want to be lining up this little notch to that little notch. So let me put it down here. So I'm going to slide it in here. The notches are lined up, and I can also feel that the teeth are in there, and you punch it. Then you slide it down when it goes in again, or the notches are lined up, you punch again. And you continue all the way down. And what you end up with is a border. Okay, that's a chain border. You also end up with a little strip that you could use somewhere else. And sometimes with these punches, you end up with little pieces, the punch outs, that could be used on a page as well. So sometimes you might want to take those and put them into a little baggie or a little box and save them, and you could use them on your page as embellishments that would go perfectly with what you just cut out. So that's something else that you get out of this that you weren't expecting. So I'm going to move the border maker out of the way. We've cut a border, we've cut our little strip. And what we're left with, and I've got this on my 13 by 13 inch mat for a reason, because I can see on here, if I line this up, this is 11 inches, because this was a 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and now it's 11 by 12. I need an 11 by 11 inch sheet of paper. So I'm going to take my trimmer, and I am going to cut off 1 inch off the 12-inch side. And that gives me another piece that can be used on my page. And now I'm left with an 11-inch by 11-inch piece of paper. So to cut your 4 photo mats, you're going to go to the 4.5-inch mark on your trimmer. And then this is where it gets kind of tricky. So let me show you this without the paper. So this little line is 1 inch from the line to the edge of the housing. The blade is in here, so this is the housing. So this is actually 2 inches from the line to the edge is 1 inch. On your trimmer, let's see if you can see them, there are inch measurements, a ruler right along here. But as you move the housing down, it gets covered up. So I can't see where the little white line, what inch it's on. But I can see where the outside of the housing is. Right there, it's at 6 inches. Right there, it's at 6.5. I can see the numbers here, and I can bring my blade, the housing down to the edge, and then I know the blade is an inch back. So right now the housing is at 7.5. It's cutting at 6.5. So I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is put my paper in to the 4.5-inch mark here, the shorter side. And then I want to cut to 6.5 inches. So I can either watch the little line, but when I move the line down, see my numbers are covered up, so I can't see that, but I can see the housing gets to 7.5. So I'm going to move it where I can see to the housing gets to 7.5, and then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to turn the paper, go to the 4.5-inch side, start again, and I'm going to come back down to where the housing is at 7.5. Right there. And there's my first mat. Going to turn it again, go to 4.5, bring my housing down to 7.5, and there's mat number 2. Turn it again, 4.5. Now this time I don't have 7.5, so I'm just going to cut it. And there's my last 2 mats and that additional square that I could use. Where'd my little square go? I could use it with the other square to line up and, line some up and make a little border of I would make them diamond shape, or you could make them squares to go along with it. So it's that simple. And what I've got is a strip, I've got a square, I've got a border, and 1, 2, 3, 4 mats. All out of 1 sheet of paper. Just that easy. There's your tip for the day. Join us next time on Simply Scrapbooked.